Hey there, vinyl community. Today I thought maybe we would have a quick chat about just an issue that I think about sometimes as to why some musicians, some bands got played on the radio, especially in the United States, where everything was, keep in mind, everything was commercial. And so if you're from outside the country, you might have heard a wider variety of things. American radio was just commercial. There was very, very little outlet for non-commercial music. And along those lines, it made me wonder who was making those decisions about what got put on the radio and what didn't get put on. And there's actually people who've written some books on the matter of why, for instance, rock and roll was separated and segmented into different audiences so that radio programmers could make more money off of an affluent audience and a less affluent audience. But anyway, I digress. I really wanted to just look at some records that I thought had deserved to have more commercial availability and than they got. And then again, when I think about it, maybe they were just too good for that to begin with. And the Meat Puppets would be one of them. This is a record that got a little bit famous later on when Nirvana did a couple of the tracks from this on their MTV Unplugged. And they did Plateau and they did Lake of Fire. But this is a great record. The whole record is really good, holds together well. Wow, and I say it holds together well. It's really kind of a shambling mess, but in the best sense of what that means. Yeah, it was a mess and it was all falling apart, but the tunes held it together, and the playing is just psychedelic and country and magical, all kind of coming together. And it's a little bit dangerous and a little bit edgy, and there's just some great songs. To me, this is a classic of the 1980s, and an album that deserved then more attention than it got. And it's cool that the band later did get some attention, but they deserved it right here. In fact, I would say that almost all of their first 5 or 6 records are really worth hearing. Meat Puppets. Here's a band I never hear anybody talk about, and they're really great. This is kind of post-punk. Mission of Burma. Verse. This is a great record. 1985, I think. Not 100% sure about that, but this is aggressive post-punk from Boston, and terrific band that just had a little flash of stardom in the right when all of that was happening in the late 70s and in early 80s. But these first 2 Mission of Burma albums, there's this, and then before this there was a EP that came out that's really good too. This is a record I just never see get mentioned. It's innovative, angular, aggressive. The tunes are great, and this is a band who had a lot to say. And today just seems to almost be overlooked a little bit by history. Go search these out. Mission of Burma from Boston, great band. Another band, and we're gonna kind of jump all over as far as like styles go. These are just albums that I all thought deserved a little bit more than they got. I don't know how many people were into like their local goth scene, but when I was in college and even before that, we had a pretty cool goth scene here in Detroit, and I always loved going to there was a bar in Detroit called the Leland City Club. It was in the Leland Hotel. It was in the basement of the Leland Hotel, and it would be dark, and they would play songs like Specimen and Sisters of Mercy and Bauhaus and all of that. This album had a great song on it, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And there's a 12-inch of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's even better than the album version of it. But this is the EP, and great all the way through. Just great, aggressive, post-punky, goth, you know, really, really good stuff. You might notice in the corner of that album is a little maple leaf. So in Detroit, because we're so close here to Windsor here, you know, I can go south from my house and drive down I-75 and be in Canada in 25 minutes. And so we get a lot of records from Canada. I used to do a bit of, before COVID, I used to go over there once a month or so and do some record shopping. And so a fair amount of my record collection has those little maple leafs on them. You could always get, it seemed like Canada got, you know, European imports a little bit better than we ever got here in the United States, so it was worth a trip over. Anyway, Specimen, check it out, dynamite album. So maybe on the other end of that spectrum, a band that is kind of notoriously got ignored. I think today their first 2 records are considered classics, but I don't hear that many people talk about Sister Lovers. This is Big Star's 3rd record. And mostly it's Alice Chilton and doing most of the writing on the songs. I'm not sure this is the original first press. It didn't get a pressing in the United States. It was an English press that it got. It didn't get released right away. But there are some great songs on here. Holocaust, Jesus Christ, Kiss of May, Big Black Car, Kangaroo, all good songs, many of which went on to be covered by, I think Kangaroo was covered by This Mortal Coil, and a few others too might have been covers too. But this is another one of these albums that's kind of just holding together. You know, the band is playing on this level where the spontaneity and the instruments are all kind of coming together and colliding at just the right moments. And it's like if anyone makes the wrong turn, you expect the whole thing to just, you know, fall apart. But somehow it doesn't. And they come together and create this. Really, I mean, this album is the masterpiece of the Big Star collection to me, more so even than the first 2 albums, which are much more, I think those are much easier to like, and they're much more kind of power poppy. This abandons a lot of that power pop and moves on to some more, I think, interesting and experimental aspects of the music. Cool album. It's been released in a couple different versions, but I'm sure there's some comprehensive version out now that might be worth tracking down. I always like this one. I love the track listing as it stands there, and to me this will always be what Sister Lovers sounds like. Next is an album. I've always loved this record, and I've had a version of it in my collection for a long time. Mine was a little, you know, these kind of records for me, they got beat up. I used to travel, you know, over friends' houses, or I used to go to parties and take records with me, and no one ever worried about taking care of them. You know, we just wanted to play them and have a good time. Well, this is one that I rebought recently because I found a really nice clean copy of it. This is the Butthole Surfers' first album, 1984, 83, 84. And this is an album of, you know, I always think of like the 13th Floor Elevators, but more, you know, a little more modern, a little bit more aggressive, and a little bit more, and I'll just put it the only way I can think of it, a little more fucked up. And this record is pretty fucked up in the greatest sense of what that means. It's a shambling, crazy, screaming mess, and it's full of great playing, and it tricks you, because right when you think you've gotten used to it, and once you thought it has completely gone off the rails, the band pulls it all back together and gives you some great great tune. And Butthole Surfers, great album, great band. And they too achieved some commercial success later on. That in the 90s, I think they had a couple of MTV hits, well deserved. Just a few records that I wanted to show, asking the question, who is making the decision as to what we hear? And think of it in the bigger context of culturally. Think about the influence that music and movies have on all of us, whether you're in the United States or whether you're in Europe or whether you're in Asia or South America. Think about how that really dictates so much of how our lifestyles are and the things that we think in our heads that are related to music and to movies and to books and to literature and all of that. We should be very, very careful who's feeding that to us, and that we better be cognizant of the fact that the things that we are getting are being given to us by those that are in charge of those distribution channels. I'm not talking about a conspiracy or anything here, folks. I just mean we should be aware of the corporations and the companies that are selling us the things that make up our culture. And that can be a powerful, powerful tool if misused in the wrong hands. Anyway, thanks for listening. Hope you got something out of that, and we'll see you later.